Well, you're watching World Talks on TVP World. My name is Sasha Farba. As German Chancellor Friedrich Merz heads to Brussels on Friday to discuss the use of frozen Russian assets, a broader surge of U.S., European and Chinese diplomacy is converging on how to pressure Moscow and shape the contours of any potential ceasefire. Now, Washington is launching fresh talks, and President Macron was in Beijing pushing to take on a constructive role. And at the same time, Vladimir Putin is in India seeking to pull New Delhi closer to his side. Amid this diplomatic flurry, Kiev is pressing for clarity on the leverage, guarantees, and the boundaries of negotiation. And joining us now to analyze it all is Kira Rudik, Ukrainian MP and leader of the Voice Party. Good to have you back on TVP World, Kira.
Hello, Sasha, and thank you so much for having me.
So I want to get your first opinion now on the German Chancellor. He's going to be en route to Brussels later on Friday. He's canceled his other plans. The idea is to get Belgium on board finally for use of Russian assets. Do you think he's going to be successful in that endeavor?
We can only hope that he will be successful because Ukrainian people badly need money so we can sustain at least the next year. We need to figure out the use of those assets. We understand Belgium's position that Belgium cannot be let solely responsible for spending those assets if at some point Russia will ask for them. And so there should be like a broader discussion and broader agreement on how the responsibility will be distributed. However, when we are discussing this, it's so absolutely outrageous how Russia started a full-scale invasion, committed all kinds of the war crimes, and the European leaders are worried that at some point they will be responsible to certain international laws, all of them that Russia broke. And so an aggressor can get away with anything, and then good law-obeying people from Europe are worried that the law will come after them. And this is something that I just cannot accept. Because it should be that if you break the international laws, then they don't apply to you. Then you cannot demand like anything back. And it's such a just and good and fair thing to do is to make Russia pay for all the destructions that are happening in Ukraine, to use their funds to support Ukraine right now and not the funds of European taxpayers. However, there are so many people who are afraid that the justice will not be in their favor. So I think the strong leadership is what is needed right now.
Mm-hmm. And also on that point, just to give our viewers an idea, it's about 165 billion euros that would be coming from frozen Russian assets that would be used in this particular loan. You said that Ukraine needs this urgently. The Foreign Minister of Poland, Mr. Sikorski, has said that the war may depend on using these frozen assets. Do you agree with that characterization?
Of course, I agree with it on many levels. So for first thing, it's, again, the financial thing. We are being bombarded every single day and night. Russia keeps pushing us at the battlefield, and we simply need a means to protect our energy sector and to help people rebuild their homes. But there are many other levels that Europe and Ukraine, we need funds to continue buying weapons from the United States. As President Trump says, Americans are not helping us financially anymore, so we should continue finding ways and means of purchasing the weapons to defend ourselves. And again, there is this historic or geopolitical level when Europe needs to show its sovereignty, shows its personality, shows its leadership, and say like it is impossible that you commit all kinds of the war crimes and then try to then hope that all your money will get back to you. Also, there is a bigger question that we know that in negotiations between the United States and Russia, there were discussions about how to divide or how to use those frozen assets, and Europe should be like protesting against this because it's in Europe's responsibility to find a decision for it. So I think the main reason and the main motivation right now should be let's use those money so that it cannot be a negotiation between Trump and Moscow about money that are being frozen in Belgium.
Right. And I think there's also that deadline, December the 18th, when all European Union leaders come together. So I think that's also here in the pipeline. There's a lot of pressure. You mentioned the United States. Let's also go to that for a moment. I mean, there was a lot of talk with the recent visit of Steve Witkoff in Moscow. He's returned now to Florida, also with Jared Kushner, the son-in-law of President Trump. Now, we haven't heard too much new out of Florida in the last sort of 24 hours. What's your takeaway from this? What are your expectations at this point? What does this indicate? We haven't heard any updates on there. What do you want to hear from Florida at this point?
Sasha, I think we will both agree that if there was anything, literally anything, to announce, President Trump will already be coming and saying that we are very close to the victory, we are very close to the end of the war, and he will end it until, I don't know, until Christmas. And the fact that we didn't hear any of that shows you that there was nothing to discuss. Perhaps Putin was giving American envoys another long historic speech. However, there is no willing from Russia to end the war. It seems like they are acting on their winter campaign, where they're pushing us at the battlefield, in the meantime trying to destroy Ukraine's energy sector. And there is like no real reason for them to change their opinion, change their strategy. And the words and the offers from President Trump were obviously not enough. Again, by this point, we haven't seen any signal from Russia that they are willing to stop, that they can stop, neither on a diplomatic level nor on a battlefield or on their actions. This is why it seems like being a big illusion from President Trump's administration that they can take it out of the blue and bring Putin to the peace negotiations. He tries to escape sanctions that President Trump promised, and he is successful in this, unfortunately, because there was this round of negotiations and he won like a couple of more weeks of not having the sanctions.
Mm-hmm. But at the same time, I mean, I know that this is a very slow and painful process. I mean, we did also probably some weeks back didn't expect that Donald Trump would come forward with those secondary sanctions against those Russian oil and gas companies. I mean, he also wants results in a way. Do you think that maybe if he gets, again, frustrated enough, will we have something stronger on the side of Ukraine, or are you still pessimistic about that?
So we really hope that at some point some of President Trump's advisors will explain to him that the whole world is watching and that he doesn't come as strong as he thinks he is, and that many dictators in the world seeing that he is allowing Putin to fool himself. However, unfortunately, when Putin is not budging, President Trump then tries to pressure Ukraine. And this has been our diplomatic goal, not to allow United States to say that it's Ukraine that is standing on the way of peace. Mm-hmm. You see, Sasha, over the last 6 months, we have agreed to literally everything that President Trump has offered us, starting from the ceasefire, meetings with Putin, discussing the deals that were not acceptable, etc. But there is always a threat like that at some point the ball will be back to Ukraine's court saying, oh, you do not agree to give up on your territories, then you don't really want peace.
Mm-hmm. And also, I think looking at Russia's intentions, they already said and stated that Putin has no intention of coming to the negotiating table. Let's also get your view on Putin's visit. He's in India right now, a 2-day state visit. He had many, many hours with Prime Minister Narendra Modi. What do you think that indicates? And if anything, I mean, his statements that he made also in India in the last 24 hours saying that, quoting here, Russia will either seize the rest of Donbass by force or wait for Ukrainian troops to withdraw. When you hear something like this, and his closest with the Prime Minister of India there, what's your takeaway there, expectations from that relationship and all this?
So it's obvious that the secondary sanctions that are imposed on India and that stopped India from purchasing Russia's gas and oil was one of the things that really worked. When we see Putin trying to bring Modi back to his court and to continue the collaboration, we understand that this is a part of much bigger geopolitical game when Russia is trying to weaken, the United States are trying to weaken China, and India is trying to remain on top, and Russia is trying to find their usage. I just hope that on Ukraine's side, we continue and intensify the work with India and with the Global South, because this is somewhere where there is like much more need to be done to explain Ukraine's side of the story, to explain what is actually happening, and to make sure that that President Trump will not use Ukraine's interest to confirm or increase his pressure on the global East.
Okay, and also speaking of pressuring in the East, I mean, President Macron of France saying that he also is putting pressure on Xi Jinping, that China also involved in hopefully trying to push Putin for a ceasefire. How successful do you think Macron will be in that?
I think we are in this situation when China is not interested in Russia losing, and they are not interested in Russia winning. And it will be very hard to switch them from their status quo. However, again, we appreciate all the attempts to put pressure, because this is the only way that geopolitics works. And I think China and their leadership is one of the countries that can actually really pressure Russia into ending the war, or at least to a ceasefire.
Mm-hmm. Okay. I mean, with all this flurry of different countries, different expectations, I mean, it's hard to grasp where this is going, Kira, but where do you see, with you consistently following all this, involved with this process as well, what do you see happening in the next few days or weeks in regards to a ceasefire of any kind?
I do not believe that Russia will be ready to any real ceasefire unless there would be a pressure that will be done by many leaders at the same time. We do not see just yet. We may hope for some way to breathe during the Christmas holidays and church holidays. Maybe our partners will use it on the matter of Christianity on Putin. However, I do not believe that something meaningful will come until there are two questions answered. What can be the security guarantees for Ukraine, and how realistic would they be? And a second matter would be what is the way that the Global South will be participating in it.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so as we've just said there, we have need more pressure from all sides of the world to bring this to a just end. Look, thanks so much again. Always a pleasure speaking with you, getting your insights. Kira Rudik there, Ukrainian MP from the Voice Party. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Sasha, and glory to Ukraine.
And thank you for watching. That concludes World Talks, but stay right here on TVP World for more news and commentary. Goodbye.